Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Menahot, Daf Yomi, Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph 17a1. We're just going to start on the last word on Ted Zayin Amud Bet, where it says Amri, right? They said. We're going to talk about now to do with the Pigul Bechetzi Amatir, meaning when something becomes disqualified, Pigul, because only of something which is partially permitting everything. So it says like this Amri, they said, Charife de Pumpadita, the Charifim of Pumpadita, the sharp ones of Pumpadita. Haktara of a kometz is going to be mefagelet et haktara. So the haktara is going to come and going to be mefagel the haktara, right? Which means of the levona. So you have the haktara of the kometz, and then you have the haktara of the levona. Remember, the kometz is what you take from the mincha offering, and the levona is the frankincense, right? Which is separate. So the haktara of the kometz is going to make pigul the haktara of the levona. Now, even according to the rabbis, that they say that you do not say pigul on chetzi amatid, right? Which means that if you're doing the aktara of the comments by itself, hanamile hecha. When is that? When chishev behu b'shinaim, when you wanted the shinaim, which is leftovers, ulvona b'minta kaima, and the levona is still there. Haval hacha, but over here, the chishev la belevona, that you thought about the levona, the frankincense. Right? So it's ki'ilu, you were thinking about the entire matid. So that's why they said that's ki'ilu, you're thinking about the entire matid, not chetzi matid, the entire matid. Meaning like this, when you want to come and you want to eat something, you need something which is going to be matid, the entire thing. But sometimes you have certain steps that it's not just one thing that permits it. You have to do a few things. And when you do those few things, now it permits it. That's called kol matid. Chetzi matid means, okay, you did the shchita, but you still didn't sprinkle the blood. If you didn't sprinkle the blood, you still didn't matir anything yet. You need, so it's called not kol matir. Kol matir is the entire thing. Chetzi matir is only part of the process. So Amarava, Rava says Afanana min Tanina. We also learned this in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said Zeh kelal. This is a general rule. Kol kometz v'noten bekli. Anybody that's going to do the kmitza of the mincha, or he's going to put the kmitza inside of a kli sharet. V'amolich, the one that transports it to the mizbeach. V'maktir, or the one that brings it on, right, the mizbeach. Le'echol. And he's maktir, right, which means he's doing one of these avodot. Le'echol davar shedakol le'echol laktir davar shedakol laktir. Right, so he says chutzim komo outside of the proper place. Pasul v'mo karet. Chutzis bano pigul v'chayvim alav karet. My love, we're not talking about the choktara. Dunya dan hanach, that's like these ones. Mahanach ben le'echol ben laktir. Afaktara is ben le'echol ben laktir, which means like this. You remember we already learned this many times. Pigul is only when you have the mindset that it's going to be outside of the proper time. So, for example, I'm going to do a korban, and I'm going to bring it after a certain time when it makes it pigul. Or I'm going to eat it after a certain time. That's zman. Zman makes pigul. When I come and I'm doing something and I'm having the mindset of the wrong mindset, whether it's time, whether it's right of the time of the eating, whether it's time of the bringing it, that's called pigul. Pigul is time. However, though, what happens if I come and I do it, and it's not time? I'm going to do it in the proper time, but I'm going to do it in the wrong place. That's called the makom. So chutzim komo disqualifies the korban. It makes it pasul, but it's not pigul. What's the difference? There's no karet. There's no karet. It's pasul. It's pasul also, but there's no karet. Right? The other one was mamash karet. Here there's no karet. So says the Gemara, lo hanach ben leechol ben laktir, haktara leechol in laktir lo. So he says, if you're doing the haktara in order to eat the shiraim lemachar, right, then yes, it does help, and it's going to be a problem. But if it's going to be laktir the levona for tomorrow, it does not help as machshava to make it into pigul. Yativ Rav Menashe bar Gada kameh de Abaye. Yativ Kamar mishmed Rav Chasta. So again, Rav Menashe bar Gadia was in front of Abaye, and he was sitting in front and saying in the name of Rav Chasta. En aktara mefagelet aktara. The aktara does not make pigul the aktara. Vafilu Rabbi Meir Amar, even according to Rabbi Meir that he says mefaglin bechetzi amatir. Hanamile, one of these words, heicha dechishev beul shiraim. When you thought about the shiraim, the kometz matid didu, because the kometz is the matid of the eating. Meaning, once you bring the kometz of the mincha, you're allowed to eat the shiraim, okay, the leftovers of the mincha. Aval hacha, but over here in our case, the kometz lav matid de levonahu, that the kometz is not the matid of the levona, so lo matzi mefagele, so it cannot make the pigul on the levona. Meaning, you thought of pigul in the kometz, in the kmitza of the mincha. That cannot come and make pigul the levona, the frankincense, which is a separate entity, because he says it's two separate things. It's not connected. So he says, so Amarle Abaye says, Ane mare, Aneni, answer me, my master, Mishmed Rav, right? Did you say that in the name? Did he say that in the name of the Rav? Meaning, did Rav Chasta say that in the name of Rav? Amarle, he says in yes. Itmar Nami was stated in it also. Amar Rav Chasta Amar Rav mefurash in the name of Rav. Rav Chasta says in the name of Rav, en aktara mefgelet aktara. Okay, fine. The Gemara is going to bring a proof to Rav. Why? Amar Rav Yaakov bar Idi Mishmed Abaye. It says Rav Yaakov Idi in the name of Abaye. We also learned it in the Mishnah. Shachat echad mina kevasim. If you did shechita to one of the kevasim, remember on Shavuot you have to bring two kivasim, shne kivsei atzeret, right? Shne kivasim, and you bring shtei alechem, two loaves of bread made out of wheat, not barley. Okay? Le'echol mimena lemachar. So now you did the shechita in order to eat one of them tomorrow. Hu pigul, that keves is pigul. V'chavero, but the friend, which is the other keves, is still kasher. Le'echol mechavero machar. But if you wanted to eat the second one tomorrow, they're both kasher. My tama, what's the reasoning? Right? Lav mishum is not because the kevin de la matir dideu was not matir, it cannot become pigul. Meaning we thought that it was since it was not the matir, so it cannot come and make a pigul. So says what are you talking about? Lo. Hatamu de lo ikva bechad mana, aval hachad ikva bechad mana ki chadamu. He says, one second, over there, it was not in one keli. Here it's in one keli. So it's a different, meaning like this. I come and I've got two kvasim. I'm going to bring one today. Now, when I come and I bring the one, I'm going to have in mind to eat the second one tomorrow. That doesn't make a pigul. Why? Because I didn't do anything to the second one yet. I'm going to eat this one today, so it's fine. So therefore, the Gemara is saying, isn't it because that why both of them are kasher? Because this one is not going to be machshir the other one? So says the Gemara, it's not true, because here, when we're talking about the keli, it's all in the same utensil. There, it's two separate animals. So one is not connected to each other. But here, it's all in one keli. So Amar Rav Amnuna, says Rav Amnuna, Hamilta avlali, right, Rabbi Chanina. This, he told it to me, he taught me Rabbi Chanina, Vitkila li kekule talmudai. Right? And it was so chaviv to me, like all of my learning. Hiktira kometz aktira levona, le'echol hashirayim lemachar pigul. If you were maktira the kometz in order to do the levona for the next day, to eat the shirayim for the next day, it is pigul. So says the Gemara, Mike, what is this coming to teach you? Mike Mashmalan. If you're going to tell me that the aktara is mefagelet aktara, so one more time. When I brought the kometz of the mincha, which is aktara of the kometz, and that's going to make pigul the aktara of the levona, meaning aktara is mefagelet aktara, so just say, lema, hiktir kometz aktir levona, right? And that's it. And if you're going to tell me that you can make pigul even with chetzi amatir, Kamash Malan comes to teach you, right, that what? Lema, hiktir kometz lechol shirayim lemachar. Ve'itar vayu Kamash Malan, if it's going to teach you both of the halachot, just tell me, hiktir kometz aktir levona velechol shirayim lemachar. Say both of them, right? And that's it. So Amar Rava da Barava says the Rava da Barava leolam really be'emek kasava he holds haktara mefagelet aktara ve'em mefaglim bechatzi amatir, right? Sorry, en aktara mefagelet aktara ve'en mefaglim bechatzi amatir. Really be'emet he says I hold exactly like what everyone said until now, right? That really be'emet we don't say that one aktara is mefagelet aktara, meaning aktara kometz is not going to be mefagelet aktara levuna. Plus we do not say mefaglim bechatzi amatir, right? Like the chachamim that argue in Rabbi Meir. V'shaneacha here it's different. Tepashta le'machshava be'kula mincha. That your machshava was mitpashet on the entire mincha, whether it's the kometz, the levuna, the mishinaim. So therefore, since the machshava is on the entire thing, that's why the entire thing is pigul. Because my mindset was not only just on one little part, it was on everything. So once it's everything as a whole, that's why it makes it into pigul. If you were maktir the kometz to eat the shiraim lemachar, according to everybody, it's going to be pigul. He says, what are you doing? Why is it according to everybody? It's a machloket. He says, the korban is pasul. Not that it's pigul. According to everybody, for sure, it's pasul. The only question is it also pigul? So says the Gemara, pigul. Just say it's pigul, and then it's Rabbi Meir. So he says, Tana divra kol. When it said the Tana, he wanted to make it according to everybody. Pigul b'psul michlaflei, hareze b'divrei kol lo michlaflei. It says, pigul with pasul, you can make a mistake. But you can't make a mistake with divrei kol. Meaning, I can't say according to everybody, and it's not really according to everybody. But I can make a mistake between pigul and pasul. So there you're right. I said pasul. Because according to everybody, right, it's pasul. The only thing is it pigul or not? That's going to be a machloket. So now we're going to start a new perek. Okay, new chapter just for you. Okay, we're starting something new. Perek shlishi, third chapter. הקומץ את המנחה לאכול דבר שאין דרכו לאכול, ולהקטיר דבר שאין דרכו להקטיר. Right? כשר. Rabbi Eliezer posel. If somebody does a kmitza, remember the kmitza is like this, right? Of the fingers, right? You've got the thing, you do kmitza, and then the top and the bottom you level it out, right? So what happens? You do the kometz of the mincha to eat, but something which is not normally eaten. For example, the kometz of the levona, okay? Or laktid, right? Which means that you're going to do the laktid, let's say, for example, the kometz, whatever, to eat something which is not normally done, right? For example, the shiraim, okay? So it's going to be kasher, okay? So he says, Rabbi Eliezer comes and he says, it's going to be pasul. לאכול את דבר שדרכו לאכול לקטיר, דבר שדרכו להקטיר פחות מכזית. What happens if you did do it, everything normal, but it was under a kazait? So he says it's going to be kasher. לאכול כחצי זית ולהקטיר כחצי זית is also going to be kasher. Why? שאין האכילה והקטרה מצטרפים. But it's not going to be mitzaref. So again, one more time. The first part of the Mishnah, the former part of the Mishnah was, I'm doing something which is not normal. So for example, I'm going to eat something which is not normally eaten. So I'm going to eat the kometz, or I'm going to eat the levona. Now, usually the kometz and levona is brought on the mizbeach. So what are you eating? So when I'm doing it, I'm having, so that's not normal. Or, for example, right, I'm doing daktara, right? But when I'm going to do daktara, I'm going to come and I'm going to do something which is not normally, so I'm going to bring up to the mizbeach the shiraim. The shiraim is eaten. It's not brought to the mizbeach. So when I did something which is not normal, the Mishnah says that it's going to be kasher, but Rabbi Eliezer says pasul. Second case was, I did everything normal. So I'm going to eat something which I usually are supposed to eat, or I'm going to come and I'm going to bring to the mizbeach something which I usually brought, but I did it only half. So for example, I'm going to think about half of the kometz and half of the shiraim. Part of it you eat and part of it you bring in the mizbeach, right? So in such a case where you're only doing half exactly, they don't combine. So since they don't combine, I'm going to be patur, right? It's going to be kosher still. Why? Because they don't combine. Okay, until here, clear? Shiraim is leftovers. The shiraim is what you eat. Okay, and the kometz is what you bring to the mizbeach.
It's just they do this,
and then they bring it to the mizbeach, and then that's it. And all the rest is eaten. Yes, yeah, and all the rest is eaten. No, that's the purpose. That's the purpose. The purpose is done. That you brought the kometz of mincha, and then the rest is going to be eaten. Says the Gemara. Amar Ravasi Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Says Ravasi name Rabbi Yochanan. My ta'amad Rabbi Eliezer. What's the reasoning of Rabbi Eliezer that he says it's going to be pasul? So he says, Amar Kar, the pasuk says, "V'ime achol yachel mi besar zevach shel amav, bayom hashlishi pigul yeh." B'shtei achilot haktuv medaber. The pasuk is talking about two different achilot. Echad achilat adam. One of them is achilat adam. One of them is achilat mizbeach. Meaning, since it's written twice, eating. So one of them is the eating of a human being, the consumption, and one of them is eating of the mizbeach. Lomar lecha, to tell you, keshem shemachshavim beachilat adam, kach machshavim beachilat mizbeach. Meaning that it's not only just important achilat adam, it's also achilat adam and also achilat mizbeach. Keshem shemachshavim meachilat adam lachilat adam, right? So too meachilat adam lachilat mizbeach. Kach machshavim meachilat adam lemizbeach, achilat mizbeach ladam. Meaning that just like the adam to adam is important, the mizbeach is important, and we combine the two, so too we combine each one. Meaning the adam to the mizbeach, it's also the same thing. So okay, so it's also important. So my tama, what's the reasoning then of Rabbi Eliezer? So he says, midafkinu rachamana b'lashon achila. Why does it say that when you're going to come and both of them, achila, vim he'achol ye'achel, two achilot? Why is it that when you put it on the mizbeach, it's considered eating? So he says the fact that it's considered eating and you're putting it on the mizbeach, so therefore they're both selam shos, zeoto davar. Even though one is going on the mizbeach and one is eating you, the human being, oto davar. Why? Because it's written in the Torah, vim he'achol ye'achel. It's written both in the lashon of achila. Yes, v'rabbanan, and according to the rabbis, why did it say it about achila? Right? Yud Zayin Mubet 17b. It didn't matter. Why is it? There's no difference whether the pigul is in lashon of achila lemizbeach or aktara lemizbeach. Inami ma achila bekezait, so to aktara is bekezait. Ve'leolam achila dorch lemashma. It says the achila always means the normal eating. So why did it use it in the language of eating? To teach you that it has to be a kazait. Achila is always a kazait. So since achila is always a kazait, so too when you're going to come and you're going to talk about what we're talking about over here, it's always a kazait. That means even to do with aktara has to be a kazait. But why? Maybe when you put it on the mizbeach, it doesn't need to be a kazait. He says no. He says eating. What is eating? A kazait. It doesn't mean that the mizbeach itself is eating. That's something. It's a different halacha. But it means to do with the eating. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer, and according to Rabbi Eliezer, im kenev so lichtov rachmana, what does the Torah tell us? Im yeachol leachel, inami im yeachol yeachel. Meaning, according to Rabbi Eliezer, if you were telling me it's the same thing, it should have both been written the same language of achila. Im heachol heachel, or yeachol yeachel. Why does it say heachol yeachel? Shva mina tarte. Comes to teach you two different things. Number one, and machshevet aktara is less than a kazait, like the chachamim. And number two, that we're combining achilat adam and mizbeach, and the other way, right? So therefore, according to Rabbi Eliezer, he says that's why the Torah even specified two different leshonot of achila. Meaning, it wasn't just two different achilas. It purposely made it he'achol ye'achel instead of he'achol he'achel ye'achol ye'achel, right? To combine the two, plus that it's achila. Amar le Rabbi Zera le Rabbi Asi, right? V'itama de Rabbi Eliezer. If you're going to tell me that Rabbi Eliezer mishum achiu karet nami lechayev, so say there should also be chayev karet. V'chite me achinam. You're going to tell me hachanami, yes, there's karet. You said in the name of Yochanan, Moder Rabbi Eliezer, she'en anush karet. You said yourself said that there's no karet over here. So what's going on then? Meaning, even if you're going to tell me that it's not kasher, but it's not that there's karet, so what's going on? So Elmaleh, he says, Tanai hi alib Rabbi Eliezer. You're right. There's a machloka Tanaim according to Rabbi Eliezer. Some people say that it's psula midoraita, and therefore he comes and he says that there's going to be karet as well, right? And some people say that it's only pasul midrabanan. Meaning, in shitat Rabbi Eliezer, many times you have like a machloket, the rabbis, what was the shita of their Rabbi? Their Rabbi Eliezer said it's going to be pasul, but he didn't speak about whether it's doraita or drabanan, right? So because of that, right, we have this machloket. The Tanyas we learned in a Braita, Hashochet the zevach lishchot midamo. If you're going to slaughter a zevach to drink from its blood, lemachar, okay? So that means imagine you're doing shchita and you want to drink the blood lemachar, or laktim b'sarol machar, leechol me'emurav lemachar, to eat the emurim tomorrow. Kasher, it's going to be kasher. Rabbi Eliezer says it's going to be pasul. Le'aniach midamo lemachar, to leave it over until tomorrow. Rabbi Yehuda says it's pasul. And Amar Rabbi Lazar, Bezor Rabbi Eliezer posel v'chachamim makshirim. Rabbi Yehuda is going according to who? If you're going to tell me that he's going according to the rabbis, there you made the pigul in the lashon of the achila, right? The rabbis still say that it's going to be kosher, but it's not normal. It should be kosher here that it's going to be kosher. So he says, Elali b'd Rabbi Eliezer, because going to Rabbi Eliezer. Amar Rabbi Elazar, af bezor Rabbi Eliezer posel v'chachamim makshirim. So Rabbi Eliezer, hainu Rabbi Yehuda, so then it's the same thing. Rabbi Elazar is like Rabbi Yehuda. So he says the karet is between them. Rabbi Yehuda savar le'aniach psula be'alma, be'anach karet nami mechayev, v'at Rabbi Elazar le'meimar, idivide pasul no karet. So basically it's going to come out a machloka between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Elazar. In shitat Rabbi Eliezer, is there karet, or is it only in the Rabbanan and therefore there's no karet? Then, right? Means again, it's going to be pasul. If a person. So now says the Gemara, lo dechule alma karet leka. Really, be'emet, we don't have this karet. Ve'hachan here shalosh machlokot b'davar. Really, be'emet, there's three machlokot over here. Tanakama savar, Tanakama holds behanach plige. In this case of the Reisha, there's a machlokot between Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim. Le'aniach, right, to leave it for tomorrow. Ledivre akol kasher. According to everybody, it's going to be kasher. Okay, so he says Rabbi Yehuda savar, Rabbi Yehuda yudchet amuvdad on the top. Rabbi Yehuda holds right behanach plige that there's a machloket in this case. Le'aniach is divre akol pasul. It's going to be pasul according to everybody. My time, what's reasoning? It's a gzera. What's a gzera? Miktzat damo atikol damo. Part of the blood because of all the blood. Ve'kol damo psula midoraita. The Tanya amar lahem Rabbi Yehuda. Yatem modim li she'im nichol lemachar yeh pasul. V'chishev la nichol lemachar nami pasul. Ve'ata Rabbi Elazar lemeimar. Rabbi Elazar is going to come and say Af bezo Rabbi Eliezer posel v'chachamim makshidim. Even in this case, Rabbi Eliezer says it's going to be pasul, and the chachamim say it's going to be kasher.